What's up, guys? Welcome back. Rogala Marine RC checking in with the boat gang. And just out in the garage taking care of some stuff. Decided to go ahead and switch out the UL19 rudder. So here we have essentially the stock rudder. And here we have the Speedmaster. I think it's like a Sport 20 or something like that. But as you can see, we've got noticeably longer setback, puts it back probably about an inch or so. The blade itself is just a hair wider. It's got a dual pickup. And then the biggest thing is that the blade's going to be longer. And so this setback should work really well because on my boat, I've got this extendo strut. And so running the longer strut, typically you'll want the leading edge of your rudder blade in line with the prop. And so you can see the way that I had this planned out is that everything comes into really nice alignment this way. It's going to put the prop ideally right next to the rudder, which is perfect. The longer setback should help essentially lengthen the tub of the boat, right? Because it's only a 30-inch boat. So by extending the hardware back, keep in mind, the only thing in the water in the back is the rudder and the prop, right? So it doesn't matter how we get the length. If we get the length, we're going to lengthen the boat. And so I think this rudder should work really nicely. I do like the Speedmaster stuff. So first things first, and we did remove the original rudder. So we took that off. We're going to have to fill these holes, and I like to do that by taking some Scotch tape over and then filling them from the inside. I'll usually dye it black, or if I have blue, I could dye it blue potentially in this scenario, but I think probably just black because this one's going to go right over the existing holes. And keep in mind, because it's a hydro, the goal is really to keep the back end as light as possible. So I might actually only use 2 of these screw holes, kind of in a diagonal pattern. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but any way that we can save weight out back would be great. And so what we're going to do, we're going to get the steering linkage set up. And then our cooling lines are going to be too short. So I can either extend these somehow, or ideally, I'd love to be running aluminum lines in there. So we'll see how far we get in this video. Basically, this is a 3mm rod. This is the stock steering linkage. You can see it's been kind of threaded at the end. So I would need a die to thread, right? This is from Amazon. From Amazon, it's 3mm stainless. This is what I make all of my steering linkages out of. You can get it really cheap on Amazon. And because I don't have a die to cut this thing down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stock steering linkage, which is around here somewhere. I'm going to take the the rod end, right? The rod end's designed to be threaded. And rather than threading it, I'm going to drill it to size. I'm going to sand up the end of this, sand it really well. And I'll nick it up with the Dremel and just make it really ugly and messy so it's got a lot of grip. And it'll just be epoxied in. And I've done this several times. It works quite well. If you have a really, really bad crash, I do use G-Flex epoxy. And if you have a really bad crash, it could potentially pull off. But it's sometimes not a bad thing to have a little bit of give. And aside from a really bad flip, I don't think it would be coming off at all. So I'm going to get it drilled out, do that. That'll be the rod end, and then we can use that to align the new rudder, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we drilled out the existing rod end with a, number 31 drill bit, which makes this 3mm rod a perfect press fit, right? So now we're going to take the end of this, and we'll take a really heavy-duty grit sandpaper. We'll rough it up. You can even take like a cut-off Dremel wheel, ding it up, right? You want to make this thing messy and ugly so that epoxy can get into every little crack and everything you sand. And it's basically going to be a press fit, right? So from here, we can just slide on our new rod end and we can go ahead. All right, yeah, that's a snug fit. So now we can run this, and this will help us place the rudder at the rear. So we got the old linkage off the original rudder, and to fit it on the Speedmaster, we're going to have to drill it out with a number 32. So we will drill this out real quick. Probably a better way to do this, but here goes nothing, boys. Keep you in frame here. I went one size smaller just to be safe. So, because I like to keep these things as tight as possible. There we go. One size smaller, so it's a super snug fit. Perfect. There's our new setup. This came off the old rudder. We'll put the lock nut back on. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how much of this I should be cutting out versus leaving in for you guys. But I figure if you guys don't want to see any part of this, you can always skip ahead. And so, by the way, so we ran the Decepticon yesterday. You want it just tight enough so it spins easily. Perfect. And then we've got this linkage in the boat. So now you can see where this is going. We're going to get this on here. And that will help us decide where we need to screw the rudder in. And then from there, we grind a flat spot, and everyone's happy. So I wanted to say, so the Decepticon, the more I've thought about it, the more people I've talked to, I actually think that we did not smoke the boat. We didn't smoke the motors. Definitely not at 140 degrees at least. I think what we're seeing is just some grease burning off. So next time out, tomorrow, I'm going to try a little less prop on it. I'll try my Dr. Props. And then I'm going to switch greases. I've been using this cheap, like, bulk size marine grease. I'm going to switch back to the Dynamite stuff. Not because it's the best, but because I like the little dispenser it comes in, just being honest. And I've also never had it smoked, so I don't think we're going to have that problem. But for now, let's get the rudder on. Let's center it up, drill a hole. Then we're going to fill the old holes and go from there. Perfect. Okay, so new rudder. I was able to use the 2 existing holes. I'm using M3 hardware, so I'm using metric. I'm not going to use the Speedmaster hardware. I like the smaller, lighter 3mm screws. So there's a little bit of play left to right. So I'm going to tighten them down, get it straight, align it straight, and drill another hole. And I'll maybe just use 3 of them. Just use 3 holes and probably just use silicone to kind of fill it up. It's a perfect fit. I think I told you guys I use this Dremel for everything. It's the 8250, but anyway, cutoff wheel with the right angle attachment, and that blew through the 3mm rod. So you can see I cut that off here. I've got the nipples in with Loctite, and I will need to take a file and do a little flat spot here. Got the servo aligned, turn that on. I'll epoxy this in place. First, I'm going to do this, get the flat spot aligned perfect, and then I will feed it in here and do this epoxy work last, just so I can assure that it's not getting rotated or anything like that. So yeah, one more hole here. Here's kind of what it looks like. You can see the prop will be in perfect alignment just to the side of the rudder, and it's a dual pickup. It's a little bit long. I'm guessing I'll end up trimming it around here. I do want to make sure it's longer than the original. Let me grab this actually. So, sorry, 1 second. So here's the original, and it would be about right there. So I will cut the other one down, maybe like here. Just enough to make it longer. It's already a little bit wider, just a hair, maybe, what is that? Maybe an eighth of an inch wider. So it's a little wider blade, so it should hook up really well, and I'll make it just slightly longer without being too long. I'll get it nice and sharp. I do love the look, how it matches. And then I'm actually going to I'll throw the flex cable in there just so you guys can see what it looks like with the All right, here we go. So just a quick video. I've got to extend these somehow, but I would like to run aluminum lines with 3/16 aluminum tubing, but you get the idea. It's on, and there's the prop in relation to so you see the leading edge of the rudder is kind of like right in line with the prop dog. So should be about perfect, plenty of clearance, and you can see we're going for the whole extendo setup. So it really adds a bunch of length onto the back of the boat and looks killer. It's matching, not a super expensive mod, but it does add quite a bit of length to the back. And I think with how hard we're pushing this thing, we could use a little bit extra rudder in the back, just because, as I notice, we go faster and faster. The boat's wiggling a little more and more, and I think a little rudder will do it well. This rudder is also slightly thinner in profile. If you can kind of see here, not much, but it's noticeable. So a little less drag, which will be good. And I mean, if nothing else, I mean, just look at that. Looks freaking sick, you guys. So, yep, I'm going to finish up the odds and ends. I'm going to put some epoxy in here after I flatten the spot on the 3mm rod. This is Amazon 3mm stainless. I use it in everything from my sniper to the Decepticon. It's super tight. There's not going to be any play anywhere. And in a really bad crash, the epoxy should pull out. It's an easy fix, and yeah. And so just a quick extendo rudder. I just think that is beautiful. I love that fit. Looks good. So, yep, just going to wrap it up. And then next video will be this boat back out at the lake and see if it helped. That's all I got for today, boys. Have a good night. Peace.